Oh, yes. Welcome back once again, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of reviewing War for Cybertron Siege number 28, Commander Class Jetfire. This is something I've been waiting on for, a good while since he was first announced, and finally got mine in from the old Amazon.com. See right here, comes in this very hefty box. He is the first of the Commander class toys, and so far only. There haven't been any others announced yet. For the uninitiated, Commander class is the new size class that's been introduced that falls in between Leader and Titan. It's $80 in the US, so about twice what Leader classes originally were. As far as how they compare in size, well, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to open them up and see how he fares against current and older Leader class toys, whether or not he's worth that kind of price tag. But he is an undeniably cool toy, and I can't wait to open him up, take a look. So on the front of the box, you can see they have this gorgeous artwork of Jetfire with his battle armor on, flying around. You can see Omega Supreme down there on the surface fighting something. Kind of looks like Refractor, it might be. You got some Tetrajets flying in the background there. And it's very impressive. It just really pops. If you go ahead and turn the box, it's a continuation of that image. You can see the arc that's docked right there in the background. Rest of Jetfire's foot, and looks like a missile, I guess. You just got some Cybertronian architecture there. Here we get the usual spread for these figures. You get Jetfire in his robot and vehicle modes. Takes 36 steps to transform, so that's good. Nice and complex. For $80 it better be. Shows off his standard non-armored robot mode, plus all the combat weapons that attached to it to make that. Very cool looking. No cross cells, surprisingly. And then here, your standard Siege artwork. Top of the box is, surprisingly, yet another continuation of that picture, so that's cool. Almost makes it worth kind of opening the box up and making a poster out of it. Bottom, just legal mumbo jumbo. All right, so kind of rare for my channel, but I actually haven't opened him yet as of recording this because I was actually able to get some recording time in when I got home and opened these. So we're going to go ahead, pull everything out of the box, take a look at it, and then we'll get to Jetfire himself. All right, and these are the inner contents. You can see the big tray with Jetfire front and center, all of his various accessories tied down or bagged up along the edges. See his big old fire blast effects there, very cool. Got a good size instruction sheet here. And you may not be able to tell on the camera, but Jetfire is huge. I'm honestly shocked. I thought he wasn't going to be, any bigger than like an old school Leader. He's quite tall. Like right off the top of my head, when I think big Leaders, I think like Revenge of the Fallen Optimus, as being a pretty big toy. And I can tell right now he's definitely bigger than that toy. So that makes me happy. And he's very solid looking. Doesn't look hollow, which I remember it was something John Warden addressed in one of the previous showings. So I'm glad they're really listening. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take everything out, and we'll continue after this short break. All right, this is Jetfire's instruction booklet. As you can see, it's pretty large here. Nice render of him in his armored up mode on the front. Folds out. A very big sheet here. Now the front page of this are the instructions for transforming Jetfire from his robot mode to his Cybertronian spaceship mode. Then on the back, got a bit more going on. Shows you how to combine his weapons and store them on top of the vehicle mode, how to attach his fire blast effects, and then how to attach his armor to his robot mode. This side is a breakdown of his different armor pieces. And And down here, it actually goes into what they all are. So those little missiles on his wings, those are just HS photon missiles. His mask is a Sky Shield battle mask. His booster pack, which is actually part of his body, but it gets its own name. It's a Turbo Thruster booster pack. It's a pretty generic name. But these longer cannon type weapons here are called JF-15 HP Jet Boost Particle Beam Cannons. So, sounds a lot better than Turbo Thruster booster pack. Over here is little arm-mounted cannons are called SFM2 Radiograph Boosters. It's kind of a weird name. Makes it sound less like weapons and more like some sort of radar or something. But Sky Shield Aerial Armor. So that's chest armor. Then lastly, his big gun here is the JF-25 HS Photon Missile Sky Launcher. Now, interestingly, this gun can separate into two guns, but they don't seem to get their own name called out. So I guess they just go by the same name. And then lastly here, you just see his interactivity with the smaller size classes. All right, now we have the big guy himself. This is Jetfire in his vehicle mode. For anyone confused by his name, possibly people that watched him on the Transformers cartoon back in the 80s, in the cartoon his name was Skyfire. And they did that due to some licensing issues and legal fun stuff. So yeah, you could call him Skyfire, Jetfire, whatever. But outside of the cartoon show, they've pretty much always stuck with Jetfire for the name, so that's what we're going to go with. So his vehicle mode is based directly off of that scene in the cartoon and the comics from the 80s. It's very massively different from the actual vehicle mode of the original Jetfire toy, and we'll talk about that here shortly. You can see he's got this added firepower here on top, and this is, you know, his armor and all of his weapons that he can attach later. So if you want to, you can always remove this. It's attached by a 5mm peg, so you just carefully wiggle it out of there, like so. Set it up to the side if you want to, and then you would just flip his little fins up there if you want some real cartoon accuracy. And yeah, I mean, they really nailed it. A lot of people that were big fans of the original cartoon have always lamented that they never did get a Jetfire or Skyfire toy that really captured his look. Most of them, you know, those with disposable income have turned to like third-party companies to give them their perfect Skyfire. Well, now Hasbro seems to have finally answered the call there and created for the first time something accurate to his original cartoon or comic vehicle mode. So you can see very interesting proportions, definitely kind of alien in design. It's got this very squared off nose cone. It might be hard to see, but there's this graying effect on his nose cone, which I guess is supposed to represent like a singeing from planetary entry, which makes sense because he's supposed to be like a spaceship. So a neat touch that I didn't notice right away. It wasn't until I got it in some bright light that I really saw it. But he's got this, you know, very impressive wingspan. He's got this big old booster thing with a cockpit. Here are his fire blast effects that are, you know, used for his boosters here in vehicle mode. The underside, a little less pretty. A whole bunch of robot kibble. You can see he's got landing gear that flips out. And then he's got these handles, which, you know, are kind of optional if you want them out or not. And these are meant to carry troops into battle. They're, you know, the right peg size to where other robots can grab onto him, and he can act as kind of like a troop dropship for them. So that's very cool. All right, just to give you an idea of how that looks. Got some Autobots flying in on Jetfire, ready for the attack, ready to drop down and kick some butt. Big thanks to my son there for holding that up for me.
Destroyer of Earth.
Destroyer of Earth. So yeah, really cool play feature. I mean, that just looks awesome. You know, if you suspend this thing up in the air somehow on a display, have 4 guys just ready to swoop down, that's awesome. Here is front cockpit. You might see there's something in there. You do have to flip the nose cone down to open the cockpit to get clearance. But you can see in here, this big chunk of circuitry, which I believe is supposed to represent like his memory core from his introductory episode, though it doesn't really look like it. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about this. So it's a really cool detail, but what's even cooler is it can be removed. You can go ahead, wriggle it out a little bit. Like, there you go. And it is molded on the inside to fit something like our old buddies, the Titan Masters or Prime Masters. Anyone that fits that body type. It's got that little groove there for the feet to connect to. We got old, what's his new name? Loudmouth here, I believe, or Siren for your longtime fans. And he fits in there just like that. So they can ride along, which is really neat. And you can see they're very different looking. This one is a Cybertronian spaceship, very alien in design, whereas this vehicle is based off of real-life American aircraft. Specifically the F-14 and F-22 jets that the U.S. military flies. And the reason for that is that this vehicle mode is made to be very accurate to the original Jetfire toy, which the design from that is actually a Macross or Robotech toy from back in the 80s. And that toy's vehicle mode was based directly off of an F-14 Tomcat. So this is kind of a neat little callback to that. So if you are somebody that is kind of a G1 toy purist and you want something that looks a lot closer to the original toy, this one is going to kind of sate that hunger a little bit more. If you want something that's a little more accurate to most of his fictional portrayals, this is going to be your guy, the new Jetfire. So you have very, very different vehicle modes. And rest assured, we'll compare the robot modes too when we get to that point. All right, we're going to start transforming Jetfire now. If you haven't already, go ahead and remove his additional armaments. In the back, we're going to go ahead and take off the fire blast effects and set them aside so they don't get in the way. And now the first thing I'm going to do is separate this booster assembly from the lower bits. So it's connected, or they're both connected via a tab here, peg here. So you're going to kind of lift and pull to separate them. Same thing on this side. The old lift and pull. If I can, do it. All right. And I want to show you guys something before we go any further. So part of the transformation is lifting this up. But one thing you'll discover, might be a little hard to see, but there are more seats behind this big cockpit here. And they are just the right size to where you can put another one of these guys, or well, two of these guys in there and have them sit down. So that is very cool. You can fit up to 3 smaller robots in there. All right, continuing on, you're going to swing this thing forward all the way and slide it down like that and just kind of compress his booster pack. Alrighty. Next, we're going to go ahead, flip in all the landing gear if you need to. Flip those in like that. Now these are pretty cool. So you're going to take these handles, flip them inward, and you're going to grab these little skirt flap things and slide them down. And they become that red hip detailing that Jetfire's character model had, which is, I just think, brilliant. All right, let's see. We're going to go ahead and flip his feet out. I'm doing that so you can stand them up. All right, next, we're going to take these panels here. Gonna detach them and pull them back. It's kind of hard to see. It's so big. All right, so do that. Take his arms. You're gonna unplug them from the 5mm post they're attached to up here. I'm going to separate them like this. Okay. Those arms are kind of collapsed on themselves right now. First thing you do, you take these little bits, flip them out, then you have to kind of work the ratchet to extend the arm all the way out, like so. And you flip his fists out, flip these bits inside, and then plug the fists in like that. Now that's one arm. Do the same thing on this side. Flip this out. Stretch the arm out like that. Flip. Store, flip. Boom. All right. Now you're gonna swing these panels out as far as they'll go. There's cockpit. You're gonna bend the nose in. You're gonna swing this thing in like that, and swing this whole panel. And I missed that, but his head was stored inside the booster. The boosters have these little spring-loaded trap doors, so that the head has room to go inside, and then it just automatically closes up. You can transform him. So that is, again, another really cool transformation feature. All right, so you got this all going on. All right, you wanna kind of swing those out, bring them forward, like so. Just let them hang there for a sec. And these panels, I'm gonna swing it back in, and there's a little nub there, and you want to go on the inside circular groove. Like that. Same thing there. Make sure it goes all the way in. We're going to take these chest panels, swing them down. They're going to tab in here, down there. Find it works best to put the bottom in first. You can just press them in all the way. There's his torso, nice and fully formed. All right. How to do his legs. The legs, you're just simply gonna swing out, back in, like that. Then there's a panel here. You're gonna unplug it. It's connected right there. It's on a double hinge. And you're gonna swing it in from the inside. His lower leg, and then just make sure it's in there nice and tight. Same thing on this side. Make sure all this folds completely down, the little handle there goes down. And then this bit swings in. So, same thing here. Make sure it all folds up. All right. And there you have it. Jetfire's well-known classic robot mode. And I gotta tell you, this thing is amazing. It really is. Like, in my opinion, all of those third-party attempts that have been done for this guy, he really just blows them out of the water. He's big. It may be hard to tell from just watching this, but he's solid. One of my fears when looking at the renders of this guy was that he was going to feel very light and cheap, but he's not. He doesn't have, you know, the issue with like hollow parts everywhere. Everything's pretty much filled in. I mean, he just looks amazing. The details on this guy, look at the backs of his legs. You know, his wings fold up to be the right shape and size like they should be. He's got those little protrusions on his arms, which, you know, are very accurate to the cartoon. He's got the cockpit, like stomach going on, the vents under his chest. Just very cool. Full range of motion on this guy, except for there's no waist articulation because of his transformation, but like hips go out, they ratchet back and forth. The knees ratchet, they're on kind of a soft ratchet. These are just regular hinges on the ankles. Has kind of a thigh swivel, like at the hip there. So it goes most of the way around. His shoulders, they ratchet back and forth, up and down. Bicep swivel. He's got a double ratcheting hinge for his elbows. So you get all sorts of dynamic poses out of him. Wrist swivel. He's got a a head that's on like a swivel and hinge combo. It's very cool. The area under his neck kind of raises and sinks a little, just for a little more added posability. And then this right here is very cool. So he has hands. You can see they're closed, and there's a 5mm port right there for holding weapons. When you open them, that port goes away. So they've kind of, you know, they've always had this issue in design where you could have a figure with posable fingers, and then they tend not to hold their weapons very well. Or you can just have like a molded closed fist with a port in there. They figured out a way through this little automorphing gimmick to have both. So it's very cool. Now, I do have some hesitance with this thing because it can be a little hard to do. It does require a fair bit of force, really. It kind of sticks. And that worries me because, you know, I imagine this is working with some small, like little gears and stuff. And I think repeated use might actually cause damage eventually. So just be careful. I haven't seen any hints of it yet, but yeah, it's about the same level of resistance here. Maybe a little bit less on this side. So just be very careful, you know, apply force wisely. But yeah, that is the robot mode. So yet another really great gimmick that this toy has. You can see his Autobot symbol here. You can flip it. It's on a little swinging panel. And you turn it around, and boom, Decepticon. And for anyone that doesn't know, this is a callback to Jetfire's origin in the majority of fiction that he's appeared within. In the cartoon, he was briefly a Decepticon before defecting to the Autobots, realizing that they were the moral good. In the comics, he was actually made as a Decepticon, and then later was, I believe, reprogrammed. And then you go into some other fiction too, like the IDW comics, where he also started out as a Decepticon. So really neat callback to that. Just another way they're really showing that this thing is a tribute and a love song to Transformers fans. I mean, they really go all out with this toy. Now, having looked at Jetfire himself, we're going to take a look at some accessories. So I showed you the fire blast effects. There's 2 sets of these, and you know, this is the normal configuration, but each one of these can break down into 3 pieces. So 2 of them look like kind of like scatter shot, you know, weapons fire or explosions. This one looks like primarily just some sort of weapons fire. So of course these can be attached to him in various ways. He's got the little hard points all over his body. So you can show Jetfire just getting lit up by his enemies or lighting them up, however you want to do it. Next we have his extra weapons and armor. So this is the way you store them. Go ahead and detach them. Take these off, separate them. Now these bits, they're interesting. These can actually be separated further by unplugging the tip here. So you can make more of a normal barreled type cannon thing. It's not called out in the packaging, anything like that. It's just a neat little bonus that you can do. So you pull those off the side. You're going to pull these guys off. Like this. They attach at 3 points. They attach this hole right here, that slot, and a slot in the side of this gun. So when you're putting them in, you basically slide it in that way first, and then just kind of press down and it goes in. So that's how that works. And these, interestingly enough, can also separate. You can take the barrel part off of the more armor-like accessory here. It's got to wriggle it loose, connected by a 5mm port. Again, not called out in the instructions, but it does give you some more options. Let's customize with the combat system a little more. Here, you just remove the gun, where it plugs in, and then you open this up here to reveal that battle mask, and you just push it out. close. So you have those. Now the whole assembly can store on Jetfire's back section, just like it does in vehicle mode if you want to do that, though it does make him pretty back heavy, so may not be the best for balancing. All right, this weapon may or may not look familiar. Let's go ahead and put it in his hand. Again, those little rings make me nervous. Or they're gonna break one day. But yeah, there you go. So this is actually modeled after the blaster that Jetfire carries in the cartoon series. Looks very, very much like it. Double barrels, all that good stuff. So yeah, again, just another neat callback. Or, go ahead, let's take it out. This gun can separate into two. So just pull it apart, and you'll see the handle here is on a hinge. You flip it up, another handle comes out, which is more centered on this half. And then naturally, there's a handle here that you just flip down. So it makes it two guns while alleviating that whole issue of usually the handles being offset in either the single or combined gun modes. Saw that a lot with like Titan's Return and their little combining weapons. So yeah, really great solution there. You can have it go in, you know, either way. So very cool. Here's a look at Jetfire with his Thrilling 30 counterpart in their standard robot modes. And here the old Jetfire takes more cues from the animation model. He does have a faux cockpit chest rather than the more jet type chest, and that is just again to emulate how he looked in the show. And he's got some of the details, but when you look at his overall coloration, the bright reds used, kind of the leaner body shape, all that, he's much more of a blend of the two sources, you know, toy and cartoon. Obviously, you can see he's significantly shorter, him being a leader class, and new Jetfire being this new commander class. And, you know, this is back before leader classes were squished down completely, so you can see what a big difference it is. All right, we're going to go ahead and attach all of Jetfire's armor to him now. That does require some slight transformation for this toy. Also, if you hear any booming type sounds, ignore those. I'm recording during the 4th of July, so, you know. All right, so he's got these little panels right here on his chest that you have to flip out, and they're kind of a pain, especially the first time to get flipped, but not too hard. You get a fingernail or tool in there. So flip those out. And then his wings, those little red handles I mentioned, need to come out. They're very hard to pull out this way, so what I do is I swing the wingtip up a bit, back out, usually exposes the handle. You just do it that way. Same thing here. Got the handle out there, and yeah, that's pretty much it as far as altering him. So first thing I want to do, attach chest armor. All right, so you can see it's got these slots right here that you just attach to the tabs you flipped out. You just gotta make sure they line up perfectly as you slide this on. Might take a little bit of finagling to do. All right, so you get the chest armor on. Next, let's go ahead and do his missiles. These attach by their hole right here to his wingtips, like that, and like that. Press them down as far as you can. All right. So their little cannon things are attached via their 5mm hole on these little skinny tabs here. So just go ahead, put them on. Go nice and straight. All right. You've got his forearm cannons, which just plug in, good old 5mm port. In here. All right, next let's give him his mask. So this is the battle mask that he gets. It uses this square to peg into the little forehead crest that he's got. Just press it on, nice and firm. And lastly, let's give him his guns. Gonna go ahead and use them split into two because that's how the instructions show it. And voila, this is Jetfire's fully armored mode. You can see it takes an already very imposing bot and just arms him to the teeth, bulks him out a lot with additional armor, gives him this real, you know, Robotech or Gundam-esque feel with the visor, and he just looks really, really cool. He's still got his fire blast effects, which you could always use, you know, in multiple ways. Again, you could attach it at his hard points for explosions. You can attach them to his gun tips. Me personally, and it's good for storage, like to just reattach them to the boosters. Good place to keep them safe and gives the, you know, illusion that he's flying, you know, he's taking off or something. So I think it looks good just like that. Here he is with Thrilling 30 Jetfire again, just so you can see how their armored modes stack up. Overall, the Thrilling 30 bears a better resemblance to the original toy. He's got kind of the more cannon-like booster pack. The armor on the legs and arms a little bit closer because it's red, bright red. And his helmet has the little wing accents, which the original toy had. I will say, though, that the chest for this Jetfire is more accurate. That design that it's got there actually does make it look more like the original toy. So, kind of give and take. The new Jetfire's armored mode seems to be, you know, more of its own thing, kind of trying to do something different and unique while still homaging the original toy's appearance without exactly replicating it. It's kind of an evolution of that. I think it excels with that. So there you have it. The long-awaited Transformer Siege Commander class Jetfire. I am absolutely enamored with this toy. Like, there isn't a thing about it that I don't like. It does everything perfect. It's an amazing translation of the character's you know, screen appearance in both vehicle and robot modes. Has a really great armored up mode, which is mainly original but does harken back to the original toy. Everything on this guy just feels so solid. Tolerances are great overall. I love the whole automorphing hand gimmick to give you the 5mm ports. Again, be careful with that though. I feel like it'd be easy to strip one of those gear teeth. The whole trap door they use for the transformation is a really nice touch. I love the fire blast effects that he has. I honestly could not recommend this guy enough. The $80 is a steep price tag, but as far as value, especially compared to the amount of value we get with other Siege toys, he really is worth it. I mean, he's great and solid, not just for a modern day large figure, but, you know, I've handled a lot of toys in my time doing this, and even amongst like the leader class toys of old, I mean, he just really outdoes them with detail and solidness. I don't know if they're going to do another fan vote for best figure of the year like they did last year. If they do, I think this guy's got my vote hands down. I don't even have to think twice about it. Unless Omega Supreme manages to blow him out of the water, we'll have to see. That's about the only toy I can think of that might give this dude a run for his money. So yeah, you know, I don't do ratings, but, you know, 10 out of 10, A+, whatever you want to call it, this guy is practically perfect. So if you want to pick him up, as far as I know, he's only available online, at least here in the States. So Amazon, Hasbro Pulse, Entertainment Earth will have it. The more specialty sites, TF Stores, Big Bad Toy Store, all those, they're going to have it in for about $80. So yeah, pick him up. I don't care what you got going on in your life. I don't care if you got bills to pay. Don't care. Jetfire's worth your time. Don't listen to that. That's terrible advice. But yeah, strong feelings, but that's how I feel. I'd love to know how you all feel in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this review and you want to see more like it or any of my other Transformers related content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're always informed when I post something new. I was really happy to bring this review to you guys. This is just a great figure, and reviewing it just gives me another excuse to play with it, so, you know, win-win. But with all that said, I will see you all next time.